Thank you very much. Also from my side, thank you, René, to be able to be here again. Thank you for living this partnerships. Well, this time we actually asked you to do it. We said the economy, that's a topic for everybody. I think I heard this at school already. Business is our business. In these times with economic challenges, together with the marketing department, we said, well, we want to talk more about it. And in contrast to all the complaining, everything's bad, what's there to do, etc., we said we want to contribute something positive. Mr. Staudacher also is here, and Sandra Baierl will lead us through the event, and there's other colleagues as well. Now, in all of October and every day in our Kurier, Austrian daily, we had an interview with a CEO without any bashing, without pointing out what went wrong. But we decided to ask our interview partners to provide us their proposals for a better future for Austria. This happened in October, and the final collection is found here. There's 96 pages, which we did with our editors, with Richard Skopeta as well. And we want to try to tell people how to make things better. It's no use just making things, talking negatively about everything. And the Kurier also chose that as a slogan. But this is only the starting point for us. We want to go more into depth. We want to continue with many interviews, many tips, a lot of advice, and also with an enlarged economic reporting in the Kurier. So, if you haven't read it yet, get the Kurier, recommend us to others, place your ads in our daily newspaper, the Kurier. We want to contribute positively to the future of this country. Mr. Zöchling is there, and he was also one of the initiators, so to speak, before the elections. He asked us and requested us to think positively. And so thank you, Stefan, for having supported us along these lines. Thank you very much.
So, jetzt bin ich schon fertig mit meinem...
All right, and this is all that I wanted to say. I'll pass the floor back to you. Thank you, Richard. Thank you to you. And I may pass the floor to Sandra. Let's have a nice evening.
Hört man mich? Ja, hört man. Wirtschaft geht uns alle an, der
Well,
geht uns alle an.
the economy is a topic for all of us, and this is a topic even bigger than 96 pages. Austria definitely is a good economic location. We can be proud of it, but there is some data which send clear signals about stability and about keeping the status quo are not sufficient. Just a few key figures. That's the high inflation rate, increasing unemployment, part-time jobs, and stagnating founding of companies, and GDP, etc. Austria and Germany are about the same, which places both of us on the 10th and 11th place in Europe. Unfortunately, we have bankruptcies in Austria every day, always to be found on the daily Kurier on the first page, and companies go abroad, and we have a highly volatile situation. Europe is trying to find its place, and Austria does the same. Just as an explanation, we're streaming today on several channels. Kurier.at streams, and we also stream into the network of the Austrian Business Agency, for which we have an interpreter. Hello, everybody, from the interpreter as well. So you have an English live stream as well. So we're going to discuss the location, business location Austria. Michael Meyer, BNI, the network
International
is a US company which has existed in Austria for more than 20 years, a network platform for entrepreneurs. Welcome. Thank you.
Josh Bridgewater
is connected to us online by the company Floodlight. I don't know whether we can actually, I don't see him yet. Let me just present to him. That's a US company that does reporting with real-time emission data. They want to revolutionize the economy with this. Okay, here we are.
Da ist er schon. Hallo.
Hello. Philipp Bodzenta, CEO of Coca-Cola, beverage producing company, as a role of the Austrian, Anglo-Austrian Society, American-Austrian Society. May I provide a message? We got from Mr. Schelluhon a high award for the Austro-American Society. It's the best organization, friends organization. So I actually really wanted to show you this. And I wanted to do this right at the beginning. Thank you very much. Congratulations. He's also the president of the Austro-American Society. But you know that. And we have René Tritscher, who is the Austrian Business Agency's CEO, which helps us to find projects and bring experts and expert employees to Austria. Thank you for having found your way here. All of you, and I exclude you now, you do business in Austria. You have been here for quite some time already. You have even production sites here. So a cheeky question at the beginning. Why Austria? Shall I start? Yes, why not? Now, I have subscribed to the Kurier for years. Thank you, Richard. And let me point out that the reading of a newspaper will educate you. And so we wrote a love letter to Austria, which was printed today in the Kurier. And so why is this so important for us? We've been producing for almost 100 years in Austria, and the location is really good. We have a very successful country here. We have an amazing economic power, which we have been building since the end of World War II. And there are lots of people who have come to Austria. When I was a kid, we spoke of 7 million inhabitants. We're at more than 9 million inhabitants in Austria today. Austria, however, also has a very good starting situation for doing business. It's very safe here. We have experts, we have skilled labor, and people are also able to spend money. So for a fast-moving consumer good like we are, this is a really good foundation for making business, but also to give something back to the society. I was an agriculture man up to 2002, and I saw myself at the pub, and then I felt the alcohol at 7 o'clock in the evening, and I realized I had to do something else. And then I founded what I've been doing now. I went to London to learn business. I got to know my wife there. She's from Brazil. We travel a lot privately and business trips as well. And whenever I come back home to Austria, I always say we live in paradise. We go to Brazil twice a year, and when we're there, you know, it's very different. Security is not so good. If somebody is sick, you need money. And I feel the hopelessness in Brazil. When I come back to Austria, I can go down on the street every time, every day. There's a good support network that we have here. You can fall ill, you will be cared for. So we've spoken about the complaining, and we're complaining on a high level. I was allowed to go to many countries, also to Asia and South Africa. So Austria has a really good situation. This was the right decision. I bought another franchise company, and I asked my wife, I wanted to go to Brazil, and she said, no, don't come to Brazil. So in 2008, he's correcting himself, we will go to Austria, and now I do B&I in Austria, but also have franchise for Luxembourg and other countries. And I noticed that whenever you just live in Austria, you will complain. But when you get out of Austria, you become aware of the fact that Austria is such a great place. Vienna is also a very good city. Is Mr. Bridgewater there? Can we hear? So why have you come to Austria? What has moved you to do business here? Well, first, let me say I'm American, and I do speak German, but it's not perfect, so please excuse my pronunciation.
Wurden in California gegründet.
We were founded in California, and we looked for a European location as our first non-American subsidiary. We were aiming at London or maybe Amsterdam, and then the Vienna Economic Agency proactively came to see us through LinkedIn, and they asked us whether we've thought about Vienna, and I said no. So we came to Vienna, visited Vienna. We thought it was really nice, and so the city of Vienna and Austria has actually. It's very ambitious here, and Austria also wants green technology, so that was really good for our business model. Mr. Tritscher, this must be amazing to hear somebody speak so positively about Austria. Well, actually, I only feel like this abroad when we are somewhere else, then this is the type of situation, because in Austria usually companies come and complain to us. They want us to solve their problems. This is what we are here for. But when we go to Japan or other places, there is envy. People envy us for being in Austria. So let me thank the three gentlemen. They have just done my job, but hope this will continue like this. But seriously, I'd like to compliment the three issues. First of all, we already heard it. The most U.S. American businesses who contact us look for market access to the European common market. We are not exchangeable. You know, this is a big market, lots of consumers. So secondly, we're often used as a test market. I'm putting it the way it is. It's not negative. Before companies go to bigger markets like France or Germany, they go to Austria first. The threshold is lower, the costs are lower, and they try things in Austria which they might also roll out then somewhere else. And thirdly, maybe we'll come back to this a little bit later, we are world-class in research, not only with research subsidies, research financing, but also with cooperation of the research institutes and along the universities. Very practical, and we'll speak about other sectors as well. For the pharmaceutical sector and others, this is very important. And the fourth item would be in Austria. What is often criticized, we have an amazing education and training. If we look at the international level, then we have a dual system, education system, and we are always envied for our education institutions. because our education is very close to practical fields, and these are lots of arguments in favor of Austria. I've led many discussions about the location of Austria, but never this positively. Well, we also have a topic regarding competition due to high inflation rates in the past years. The non-wage costs for employees exert a lot of pressure. Well, this is an issue, and the employers' representatives, please tell me now, have you had crises meetings? Have you spoken about this issue in your companies? And if yes, what is your counter strategy? Well, if I may start, yes, of course. Nobody's immune to this of the economic situation, and we are, regarding economic growth, very at the end of the list. Now, the perception has been changing, and you can feel that the economic situation is not as good as it used to be, but I have hope that change is possible, and we have seen that the wages negotiations have been taking longer compared to the past, and this is the hope in Austria, that change is not possible in a brutal way, but through a visionary approach. What is enormously important is that competitivity must remain good. When I was a student, Charles Handy said, if the pot starts boiling and the frog is in the pot, the frog doesn't notice that it will boil, but if the temperature increases rapidly, we'll jump out. And we're in a situation where, day by day, month by month, the pot is getting hotter. This is why it's pleasant to see that not only in politics, but also on the level of society and the social partners, people have found out that we need to change things. Does Mr. Bridgewater actually wants to say anything? Can we leave the gentleman from the US actually here on the screen? Thank you, very good. Now, have there been any discussions regarding the location? No, the problems are not directed at Austria or not geared along Austria. We are really dealing with sustainability and reporting. We use satellite data, AI, and companies to help us make things more efficient. But particularly in the US, but also in the European Union, we have been seeing recession. And this really has an effect on our business. But it's not particularly only about Austria. I've had an interesting discussion with representatives of the automobile industry, which is particularly ailing, because there are many transformations, buzzword China, etc. And there were very critical voices, which you can read about in the Kurier tomorrow. One is, if you are not better and more innovative, you cannot be more expensive in the long run. And this is coined on obviously the German automobile. And the president of MAGA says we need technology and culture. Now, what comes from Europe? Not a lot anymore. We need 450 million Europeans in order to make an effort. So there's criticisms. We're not at the vanguard of technology. We're sort of lagging behind. And then, of course, we can't ask for our products what we'd like to ask for due to the costs of the location, and the mindset in Europe has also sort of fallen asleep in a way. It's an interesting topic. I have been dealing with the small and medium-sized companies, more or less. I go to Germany quite a bit, and I always discuss what does not function, what does not work. I always talk about Germany because Germany is, much bigger than Austria. And so I'm always asking, what about the virtues of the location, of the site? Why do we not focus on what we do well? Why do we always focus on the negative? And many entrepreneurs tell me they talk more about the administration, about paperwork, instead of really putting your power into where innovation takes place. And I often think the same way in Austria. We have so much potential, but we don't use it. And I think this is really too bad. Why don't we do it? Well, why don't we do it? Because we are already on a high level and we don't feel it this much yet. But the pressure has been increasing. But if we start an initiative, we should find out what we do better. We have more experience. We just need to get back on track, and we probably need a new vision. This gets me to politics now. I'm not a partisan of any party, but what happens, the left fights against the right against the left. Everybody needs to work together. We all need to work together. This populism, whether it's across the Atlantic or here, does not help us at all. And sometimes you may also just abstain from seeing something and just say, let's look at the results and let's not look at trying to find out whose fault it is. We need to get better. There is a lot of potential, but we don't use it. We have so far not been using it.
Gleich weiter auch an Philipp Bodzenta und Josh Bridgewater.
Philipp Bodzenta and Josh Bridgewater. Innovation in Europe is a big topic, but also the mindset. Definitely. We have a big innovation lab in Brussels. So Europe as a location is important for us. But I can only agree with what you just said. We need the right mindset in order to stop complaining, but to just do it, get active. And for this, we first and foremost need the right mindset. We need to find out, do I have the right players in my team? Are they on board? In difficult times, you need to have the right people. You need to invest into the right people in order to there's a slogan that says never waste a crisis. We need to invest. This is the time when we need to innovate and invest. And there's always a connection to sports, of course, football in particular, or soccer. If a team is not doing well, it is then when the team needs to stick together. And the team is always stronger than an individual. We need to work in unison together, but we also need to invest. This is why I think this is a really good initiative by the daily newspaper Kurier. We want to focus on the positive. We want to be positive. And now the second item is also that the glass is half full and not half empty. This helps in order to get going. It's not always easy, but we know about this. Mr. Bridgewater, innovation, we're particularly interested in your American position. What do you see in Austria and in the US? I think our biggest challenge in Austria now
Startup wie uns, wir haben eine sehr innovative Lösung.
Is innovation. We have innovative solutions for existing problems. And we continuously talk to companies.
zu
The
werden.
people don't want to be considered as first or seen as first movers.
Ich weiß nicht, was die Gründe,
I don't know the reasons for this, but in contrast to the US,
dieses,
there often is not, how shall I put it? I mean, there's more ambition in the US to be seen as first mover than in Austria.
wir sehen, dass vielleicht in Europa die Leute
And in Europe, people are reticent.
hoffe, das Sinn
I hope this makes sense, says the speaker. Mr. Tritscher?
Vielleicht ein paar Zahlen dazu.
Maybe a couple of figures. I think we have a lot to lose. A couple of years ago, we looked at what international companies have continued to create to value added, produce value added, and they contribute 30% to the Austrian GDP. 30%, also 30% of taxes. I'm also a soccer fan. We're currently playing defensive soccer, not offensive soccer. So I think we must get from the defensive to the offensive. So what we see in many projects, now those projects who are successful and who expand, they are the ones who are extremely optimistic, even in the worst of scenarios. I'll give you an example. I went to a US-American company in Upper Austria a couple of weeks ago, and the CEO from the US was there. They had a management meeting, a global management meeting, and this guy explained they've got 15 sites in Europe, and in 5 years there will only be 5. One of them will be Europe. And for the time being, there's several sites in Europe. And after this, we sat down with the local management, and the atmosphere was not, oh my God, we won't be here anymore. No, they started right away to collect their know-how, discuss about where they can get to the top in Austria. And this is really my creed. In the past years, we have changed from and ended up in the middle field. I am always in the bad average. If somebody says we're talent attractiveness, 17th place, my aim is to get to the top 3, not everywhere, but in politics, there was the buzzword of the strong points. We always speak about economics, but we need the courage, and I think that our government is trying to do this, to find out where we want to get to the top. Some things need to be left aside and concentrate on the best. What are these strong points? I think in certain sectors we are world class. If I look to the US, there has been an MGEM a report where we saw that from the NKD and even in the pharmaceutical sector, there are many companies who come to Austria. I'm sorry about talking about the pharmaceuticals, if we talk about foods. Now, all the top companies are present in Austria with different functionalities. It's a research unit on the one hand and might be a functional unit. But if I look at Vienna, all the companies present there, we need to still get stronger and say, well, we need to support these companies. And there is many fields where this can happen. Are there already people who want to ask questions or make remarks? I have 2 questions that I received from the people through the Kurier. The current situation, is this an opportunity? The current situation in the US, if I understood that correctly, for Austria? And secondly, what can politics do on an Austrian and on a global level in order to get more attractive in competition? So a safe haven, Austria as a safe haven, good quality of life, well-trained experts and skilled workers. Now, is this more interesting than we think? There's no crisis without opportunities. And we must look at what's been happening in the US. We know about the discussions where about how research institutions have been financed in the US. We have been part of it. A couple of months ago, we started an initiative where, from Austria, with companies, we actually spoke to American researchers and offered them jobs in Austrian universities. There was quite good feedback, but it's those topics that we need to invest into. Let me give you a second example, because we always hear that so many companies actually go to the US from Austria, from the European Union. In an expert journal, I actually read about the foreign direct investment streams have been going to the US. Now, the last quarter of last year and the first quarter here has shown that 25% fewer FDI streams to the US. Now, this actually shows a different picture. In the second quarter, I have to say, the situation has somehow stabilized a bit, but just imagine, not everything's rosy there, and there are opportunities for us and what we have been seeing. And this corroborates those figures that the interests of US American companies who are not there in Austria yet are actually interested in doing so. There have been side effects. Last week we went to Switzerland. The Swiss companies actually suffer from those tariffs that are in preparation. So we must be creative in order to get out of the defensive position. And if we continue to cooperate even better, we can actually get advantages from this. Do you also see the fact that the global situation is an opportunity for Austria? Well, if you have the pleasure of being asked by politics, then I think accountability is important. One of the most important components for investment, trust. If you have the trust in the long run, then you need to be able to be in a safe haven. Now, you need the right strategy, and what is really important for us is to find out whether in the long run I can make reasonable investments. Now, we have invested a lot into our site in the Austrian province of Burgenland because we believe in the economic location of Austria. Where we need to do something is to increase our service performance. And this is where there have again and again been problems where we always think it should be less complicated, and believe there are others also who suffer from this. If I want to reinforce my companies in Austria with experts or skilled labor, which we might not have, then it would be good if things could happen rapidly, meaning if I go to contact an authority, that things happen faster, not only for Austrian companies, but also for international companies. And we just use so much money and time in order just to keep our status quo. And so there needs to be improvements. You might think I'm naive, but I think we need to make changes there. Who could have imagined 30 years ago that you could now travel through Europe without needing a passport? Well, suddenly we don't need a passport anymore traveling through Europe. When I went on holidays, 30 years ago, we needed different currencies, needed to cross different borders, and now the situation has changed drastically. And I'm a fan of the European Union, and I believe this is unique, and I think we should continue to reduce barriers and borders. May I compliment to this? If you get managers, it's good. This also creates additional value added. And if they're not from the European Union, now all the things they have to go through here lacks dignity. And this is where something needs to be changed. We need to develop a fast track in order to facilitate and make administration easier. No, this doesn't mean that we should get rid of everything, but things must be less complicated. I'd like to see Mr. Bridgewater on the screen, please. Can we leave him? Michael Sila, organization from Conarico. One question, Mr. Bodzenta, you spoke about the aspect of the long-term stability, which is a great value in Europe, but definitely also for Europe. It is an aspect from cultural studies, can be seen in the US, and it actually drives innovation. And it gets rid of the short-term thinking. So my question to you, or to the whole panel, how do we get to this bigger risk, willingness to take bigger risks in order to get into this big life? Short answer, of course you need the mindset in the companies, but also people with the right mindset. But politics must be calculable, in order to be able to invest. What's difficult is when the rules always change. So then this gives us more things to do. So all the countries which go there might in the short time be successful, but in the long run, I think it's a waste of capital. So predictability is a definite necessity. Mr. Bridgewater, I entirely agree to what's been said. There are many people in the US who are not satisfied with the situation, and their companies are not doing well, but there's a big potential for Austria or for Europe altogether. And I can only say that our experiences have been the following. We created a company in Austria. There was so much bureaucracy, so much paperwork, only to get our first employees into the country. So if these hurdles were lowered, then everybody, I think, would profit from a lowering of these barriers. Regarding international skilled labor, we're trying to help the companies intensively. And here the mindset is also important. How do we fulfill the legal requirements? I think, red, white, red card procedure should be dealt with in 8 weeks. We have actually provided 4,000 advices for this. And then this is done in 8 weeks. And no company has said this is too long. So what we have been doing very strongly is engaging in a dialogue with the companies and not only discuss the mindset. Not only welcome people, we can do this or like that. But the second thing is, how do I fulfill the requirements? So we need an authority culture which does not say, no, we don't need these, we don't want these workers, but they should say, we need skilled labor, we'll examine them, but then everything should work fast. We have had lots of exchange procedures, and our slogan for ourselves and for our client is we simply make it easy. Now, this means that we do not enumerate 10 problems, but try to propose 10 proposals for a solution. And this is the mentality, and this is a mindset issue. And companies need to be supported when it comes to integrating skilled and expert labor here. Of course, sometimes it can be difficult, but this is everyday work, and at the end of the day, yes, we need to be able to plan. Nobody invests 20 million on the site if the framework conditions are not right. You can always get better. Thank you very much. When we listen to you, we get the impression that everything's cool, everything's right, everything's wonderful, let's go home. But I need to tell you that I cannot share your opinions. On the one hand, I think it's really good what the business agencies do. The visibility of your activity would need to be expanded because generally people don't understand, even know what you do, what you can manage to do. Your activities need to become more visible, so you need to talk to your marketing department. Regarding the framework conditions, they remain over-regulated. You need lots of paperwork to be dealt with. Every company that needs to open shop here, there's so much bureaucracy. Well, the economic chamber talks about deregulation and talks about trying to get rid of laws which are not necessary. So this would help us a lot. Now, the Chamber of Economics does really good work abroad. The Chamber of Economics in Austria, I have to say, I don't know what they really do. I could actually leave it, and I did this. I left this part, but I cannot leave the economic chamber. Well, what you have been saying, and I can only underline that, planability, predictability in Austria is important. We have come to an intellectual low point regarding our managers and politicians, and if we see that the permanent interference in the market continues to happen in the construction industry, in the media landscape, when it comes to food retail business, I think we're on the way to become a communist South American country. Nobody reacts, nobody says anything, and this is why I'm glad that Richard Grasl has started with this initiative in order to provide a platform where people like you and us can have a say and tell people we need change, we can't go on like this. But all this positivity that you expand us in the automotive industry, I'm also active in the gas industry, in the fittings industry. Now all the requirements for a green Europe, now frankly, I'm fed up. I've got enough. This is why I'm not a fan of Brussels anymore. I'm not a fan of the European Union anymore. I am in a traffic jam at the border with Germany. Now the question is, what's the alternative? Excuse me for answering right away. Due to my job, I know so many people who are not entrepreneurs. You don't understand us. Everybody who has been an entrepreneur who has to pay wages, and when there is a regulation where the whole company is at risk, where the whole existence is at risk, then we know what entrepreneurship is. Now, as an employee, if I get my wages every month, no problem. We must start early. Our children are asked to think in an entrepreneurial way. My wife always says, are you crazy to talk about kids about entrepreneurship already? But I think this is important. How do we get people who don't understand us? The problems are apparent at the borders, etc. But there's no understanding. But most people understand us. So how do we get them to understand our issues, our problems? As an entrepreneur, you're really usually judged, and people think that you earn millions and you're an entrepreneur. You can go home whenever you want to go home. Oh, let me compliment this. I believe that we have an education issue. Now, the topic of entrepreneurship is underrepresented. There's an initiative called Junior Companies, an American idea, which has become active in Austria as well. I have been able to speak to young people, and I asked them, so what about entrepreneurship these days? And they looked at me and they said, because they want to get rich. Why does anybody want to get an entrepreneur? So you just looked at an entrepreneurial salary of €1. Now, do you believe that you got rich? And then they finally understand, no. So the question, why does somebody want to become an entrepreneur? And lots of people want to become entrepreneurs because they want to change something. And I believe that this entrepreneurial spirit is necessary in a much greater dimension. We do have way too many people. What was that? The Kurier actually reported about it. We have a quota of more than 50%, up to 56% of the GDP, which is not created in the private industry. This is an alarm signal. We need entrepreneurial spirit, entrepreneurial mindset. Not everybody needs to become an entrepreneur, but this thinking would be a big success by itself. Now, the idea of wanting to change something, focusing on the client, this would make us successful. So, somebody wants to say something? No, I entirely and totally agree with you. We need to think into an entrepreneurial way. This starts at schools. I have managed hotels for a long while, and I have been dealing with apprentices, but managers. I trained them, and you spoke about the flexibility in the world of economics. Employees also need to be flexible. Social partners need to get more and more active. We get seasonal workers to Tyrol, but from Romania and Bulgaria. But a person from Vienna seems not to be ready to go to work in Tyrol and on the other side of Austria. So there's the frog is still in my head, and I'm thinking about the chips industry. I think you heard about these news that there is a lack of chips because chips are produced in the Netherlands, and then they are installed in a green electric vehicle with a good footprint, and then comes back from China this way. If I remember now, the chips industry is not healthy in Austria. So the question is, why can these important industries not be helped in a rapid way? So I believe that the Austrian chips industry is healthy. If we look at the history of the chips and then It was the first industry which actually showed a network, an international network. And the chips industry shows us the global issues. If we don't work in an open economy, but have to deal with trade barriers and tariffs, then problems arise. Because then these there we see the problem, that we see that we are interdependent. The circuit boards, for example. Now, we need to write more stories about this. Many Upper Austrian industrial entrepreneurs have contacted us. So what is this about? We need to make sure that we're not only a research continent in Europe, but we also need to produce in Austria. Why are the companies who, like the ATS in Styria, who in a low-wage country as Austria also produce their circuit boards, because the others are produced in Malaysia? Then we will see about the interdependence of supply chains. Then there are certain programs in semiconductors, for example, where the European chips industry is needed in production. And what do we do in the Austrian, the ABA? Now, we address certain sectors, but also the semiconductor sector. And there are some US companies who have been investing in Austria. Now, I know a company who started in Villach and who has taken over a company in Salzburg, has been expanding. And this is where we try to address these companies in order to close the supply chain, but to depict an entire supply chain in Austria is not possible. My answer is we need to be interdependent. This interdependency needs to be upgraded. If the supply chains circumvent us, then we don't need Austria anymore. And this is what I meant before. We need to actually promote certain critical areas. That is to strengthen strong points. We must focus on critical infrastructure, critical entrepreneurship. This is what we need to do. This is exactly one of the areas where if the US has clearly defined the critical infrastructure, the chip industry, because as an American chip producer, you leave the US, then you cannot get back into the US. Then the US says, I'm really sorry. And this is what happened to the chip producer yesterday. Chinese chip producers produce in the Netherlands. And the US says to the Netherlands, now that won't do, that's not possible. And then they close. And in Europe, we believe that this doesn't have consequences, and this is what is so challenging for Austria and the European Union. We need a clear industrial strategy, and here Europe really fails to do this. Now, I'm the one who wrote the compendium together with Ms. Scheidinger, my colleague, and I need to tell you what we have been hearing really goes along this direction. You said we're good in pharmacies and biotechnology. We were good there, but we're not good there anymore. If we talk to entrepreneurs, they all say Austria was a superb location, but this is over. If we don't change the situation, we can discuss the coming 5 years. If politicians don't react, then it will be over. It's not about going to the US or to the Philippines or to China. It's about are companies going abroad to Hungary, Slovakia, Slovenia, the Czech Republic. Poland actually offers itself as a huge market. The Ukraine will probably come back. So we need to get more scared even. Somebody needs to do it. Now this is taken up into the final round because I promised our interpreter not to do more than an hour. Yes, an hour is already pretty challenging for the interpreter. But let's get back to the topics now. Mr. Kopeta, thank you for what you've just said. What needs to happen spontaneously and intensively in order to get back to a positive and good? Please, a final statement. What needs to happen? In certain international benchmarks, we have fallen backwards. That is true. So first of all, we need to look at where the problems really are and change things right there. Often we think it's difficult, but sometimes it's really easy. We heard, how do I get international experts and skilled labor to Austria? Now, the government resolution says, well, yes, this is supposed to happen. And there's the red card, which is supposed to help in that way. We have been working along this. This would reduce the procedure time. Would not keep it as lengthy as this anymore. We have been working on this. These are just details, but more details need to be addressed. We need to find the weak points and just correct them. I think we have enough strategy and we've seen enough white papers. We just need to do it. I agree with you, an industrial strategy is being worked out, but the industrial strategy as a paper will not get us ahead by itself, because what's going to be written down needs to be implemented. Let's listen to Mr. Bridgewater. He has been so patient. I would simply say there is a lot of change, but change brings opportunity. In order to remain pertinent, and these opportunities need to be detected, understood, and used. What needs to be changed? I'd like to talk about an Austrian. William Exner was the Gyrogyrillos of the 20th century. There's a medal with his name for people who are awarded, who get this award for research work. In Austria, we have 250 Exner award bearers, of which 26 actually did get the Nobel Prize afterwards. Let innovation come back and let us not stop it with bureaucracy. We are very good regarding bureaucracy, but less is more on the bureaucratic level. I can think of two things. Oh, just one thing, just briefly, yes. Self-confidence. It's amazing how many of our managers just don't understand that they need to be more self-confident by saying, this is our way and we're going to do it and implement it. Secondly, if we have representations or people who do not represent us well, maybe the daily newspaper Kurier will organize an event and actually tell us what needs to be done. And if we get together beforehand, we'll be able to do a good job. That's my proposal. Well, there is one more final statement. Now we heard about all the things that we can do. Maybe let me add one more thing. Next to bureaucracy, next to personnel and non-wage labor costs, it's also the energy which is important. And I think energy not only as personnel resources, but also the energy we need in Austria to continue to produce. This is a topic which also needs to be addressed. I agree with Mr. Zöchling. in order to get ahead, and so that production in our country is still affordable. Yes, and the inflation, of course. Thank you very much, Ms. Costa.
Vom Fachverband der Nahrungs- und Genussmittelindustrie, richtig?
She comes from the food industry. René, back to you. We have had a good discussion. I have an interpreter who is getting tired. This is true. Usually we work for 30 minutes. We have come to the end of this event. Thank you very much. Thank you to all the guests. Thank you to the panelists. Let's give them a hand. I would like to thank Josh Bridgewater. Thank you across the Atlantic. We're building bridges here at the Austro-American Society. Thank you for having part in this discussion. Thank you for having found your way here. I think this was a really good discussion. I think we could have continued, but we don't have more time. And so thank you very much. Thank you, Richard Grasel. Thank you to the whole Kurier team. We could continue to discuss things here on a more personal level. I wish you a good evening. Thank you very much. Get back home safe. Have another drink here. We're looking forward to seeing you again here. Have a nice evening. Thank you.